So, so two things. If you could give just a couple of examples of some of the feats that you're well known for, endurance wise, I think that would be interesting to folks. I've, of course, read some of the stats, but I'd love to hear that. And then, second part to that is, what are the things that drive you crazy when you're doing that kind of thing?
Yeah, so back to that stairwell with that Men's Health cover guy. When I started doing those races, again, I think what helped me, which has really helped me through life, is a lack of knowledge. I think sometimes people have so much knowledge in a particular area, study it so much that actually they talk themselves out of doing something. And because I didn't have any knowledge in this endurance area, I just signed up for things. And so I signed up for that, the Iditarod, they call it the Idita Sport, where you do it by sport, and that was 350 miles, 30 below temps, and 3 feet of fresh snow just didn't stop. It was terrible.
No dogs,
Um,
just feet, just
yeah,
two
no, I
feet.
was the dog. I was the dog. This race called the Yucatac. Well, an easier way to explain it is if anybody knows the Eco Challenge, Eco Challenge had a bunch of competitor races
Hmm.
that all had different names, whether it was the Discovery World Championship or the Raid, and they were all over the globe. And so I ran around the world for a bunch of years just doing every race possible. I would just leave my office on Wall Street and go disappear in the woods or the snow somewhere and just kill myself. There were such intense races that when the race was over, I would sleep 24 to 30 hours straight, just literally
Wow.
collapse. And you wake up and you don't even know what day it is, and you get addicted to it. Like you get such a proud, exhilarating feeling from pushing yourself that hard that then you want to do it again.
You did the Badwater Ultra along with two other races in the same week, didn't you? Am I making that up?
Well, that was a mistake. What had happened was I got into this thing where I was doing all these races, and so anybody would come out of the woodwork and say, "Hey Joe, let's do this," or "Hey Joe, let's do that." And my standard response was, "Yeah, let's do it," because that was an easy way for me to commit. Just
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna turn down a challenge. And so one friend had said, "Hey, let's do the Badwater," and yeah, whatever, let's do it. And so sign me up. Another guy said, "Hey, let's do the Lake Placid Ironman." I said, "Yeah, no problem, let's do it." And then somebody else said, "Hey, let's do Vermont 100." And that was like 6 or 8 months before these events.
Right.
Well, just because of the way I am, I'm kind of a scatterbrain. About 3 or 4 weeks before these things, my assistant says, "Hey, you realize these are all in the same week?" And I said, "No, I did not realize that." And so I said, "No, you know what? Let's try to do it, and maybe we'll get some press." And so I figured, all right, I'll train hard for it. I didn't have much time, and did a ton of Bikram yoga, a ton of running in the 3 or 4 weeks leading up to it. I mean, a lot. And again, I'm not you're very, in the stuff I read about you and your thoughts, you're very methodical in your training. I was more of a throw everything against the wall. The more training there is, it has to be better.
Right.
And I definitely pushed the limits and went and did the Vermont 100. And then a few days after the finish, made my way out to Badwater, which is the
Now
lowest
100 is
elevation.
100 kilometers, 100 miles. What is that?
100 miles. Yeah,
Okay.
100 miles through the hills in Vermont. Finished in under 24 hours, which is your goal when you're running 100. Finished that, flew out to Vegas, drove however far the distance is. I remember, I forget, to the lowest elevation in the U.S. is Badwater.
Yep.
Ran to the top of well, not to the top, but to the finish line of Mount Whitney, and then jumped on a private plane. My wife said the only way she was going to let me do it was if I hit a wedding that week. So I had to get to a wedding, which was the worst part, you can't tell her, of the whole damn week because my feet wouldn't fit in the shoes. She wanted to dance, and then from the wedding, made it to Lake Placid, and did great in the swim in Lake Placid, did great in the bike. And when I got on the run, I thought, I'm going to kill it. I already ran 235 miles this week, and my legs just gave out about mile 5. I was in so much pain, and I never drink, and I never take any aspirin or anything, and I'm in so much pain. I'm looking around for like an aspirin or an Advil. I'm asking spectators, and I got somebody to give me a few aspirin, and I ran a few more miles, and the pain wasn't going away. And I saw a couple of kids with backpacks full of beer, and I never drank, and so I was like, can I have a few beers? And I literally got drunk and finished that, and they filmed it. The Ironman folks filmed that. But that's how I got through the run, and I stopped at mile 20 for 2 burgers. I ate 2. I was so hungry, and so I was drunk and full when I came across the finish line of the Ironman.
So just to put this in perspective, I mean, obviously that's insane on so many levels, but to put this in perspective for people listening, The Badwater Ultramarathon describes itself as the world's toughest foot race. I know a number of guys who have run this. It's 135 miles. It starts, like you said, below sea level and then goes up to more than 8,000 feet of elevation. And it usually, I guess, it takes place in July,
Yeah, it was hot. It was crazy hot.
in the shade, very commonly 120 degrees. So
It was it was 131 degrees. My shirt melted and my sneakers melted. It was terrible.
so there are people who will have support vans following them with basically coffins full of ice to revive them in case they collapse.